Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the concept of forced treatment. The idea that we're going to force people to go into treatment because they have a substance use or mental health disorder, what I call the behavioral health disorders. And this, the reason I'm sharing this video is because we had a call from a family during the week, and I spoke to the mum as I typically do, and she said, there's no way I'm going to force my loved one into treatment. I don't think I can do that. And I said, look, I totally understand that. This is a no judgment zone. I mean, I don't tell clients what to do. I give them options. And so if your option that you're exercising is that you're not going to force them into treatment, well, okay, that's fine. So what's the plan then? Now, just by way of background, this is somebody that I think the young man was 27, 28. The family's been dealing with this for about 5 years. Marijuana use, meth use, other kinds of drug use, addiction to prescription medications, diagnosed with, I think it was bipolar. And I think there were some very short periods of treatment, nothing longer than, I think, about a week or 10 days. And, the mum said to her, well, the treatment doesn't work. And I agree with her. Yeah, 7 to 10 days when someone's been sick for 5 years. I mean, you could do that 100 times. It's not going to work. It just doesn't, the whole idea of getting into recovery just doesn't work that way. And she said, I'm very uncomfortable with the idea that we're going to force them into treatment. Okay, so what are the options then? Well, somebody goes to treatment. The state grabs them and puts them in the criminal justice system because, people with behavioral health issues can and do get arrested because they make very silly decisions. The state grabs them and puts them into the mental health system through the Baker Act procedure, right? I mean, if you get Baker Acted enough times, and I've talked about this, if you get Baker Acted enough times, at some point the state takes the position, well, we gave you a chance to fix this and you didn't bother, so we're going to do it for you. And if and when we're ever done with him, we'll give him back to you. You won't like what you see, but we'll give him back to you. I don't know when that's going to be, but at some point, hopefully, he's good enough where we can let him out. Or the other option is somebody ends up dead. And I know I'm being blunt here, but every year we know we might get that call. Now, last year was okay, but the year before that we had a call. In fact, I think we lost 2 or 3 people a couple of years ago. So I know that we might get that call. And that's why we take our responsibility so seriously, and why I get so frustrated with these other lawyers who, do personal injury and car accidents and divorces and criminal work, that they're sort of, quote, dabbling in this stuff. It bothers me because if you really care about this stuff, you're not mucking around with car accidents and divorce cases. And that's not to poo-poo PI lawyers and divorce lawyers, but this is serious stuff. We're talking about trying to save someone's life. And so I get somewhat frustrated with people who dabble in this stuff, because if you don't dabble in someone's life. In any event, I'm sorry, didn't mean to digress with that, but you get the point. And so look, I never liked the idea. I never even liked the concept where we're forcing somebody in. No, look, if your loved one could make the decision to save themselves, even though you look at it and say, well, what's the matter with them? Why can't they stop using? Why can't they make the decision to go into treatment and stay in treatment? If they could do that, I mean, surely they would. I mean, we wouldn't be seeing the epidemic here in the US that we're seeing. We wouldn't be seeing people dying if these people could make that decision. So if they cannot make the decision to save themselves, will you, as the family member, will you do it? Will you make the commitment of time, energy, and money to do it? I mean, it's just a question I'm asking you. This is not a judgment of you whether you do or you don't. When you call us, I'm going to give you some options, and one of which is to make the decision to put your loved one into treatment because they cannot make that decision for themselves. If they could, they would. They're sick. They have a disease. That's the nature of the beast. And I know that sounds like, well, maybe even a little crazy, but that's what we're dealing with. And I can tell you, having spoken to thousands of families over the years, I mean, that is the nature of what you are dealing with. So you can look at it and say, well, I'm forcing them in. My, I guess, view of things is, no, you're not forcing them. You're making the decision to save them because they cannot make the decision to save themselves. And the Marchman Act and the Guardianship, and occasionally Baker Act, because I am a fan when it's done right, are the tools that we use, combined with the fact that I have a couple of clinicians and staff and a private investigator because people go missing and we want to make sure the cops do things right. Those things, those sort of 3 elements, are what makes this work. And I have seen the change when a family makes the commitment to save their loved one. And if you want to call it, they force their loved one to treatment or they force them to take medication, that's fine. I'm just sharing my perspective on things and the results that we get, but it takes time. I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a magic pill. And anybody who tells you that they can sort of, wave their hand over this thing and make it all better is just completely BSing you. It takes time. They've been sick for a long time. We got to get them into treatment and keep them there long enough. And if they need to take their medication, we got to make sure they do that. Right? I mean, that's what we're dealing with. So I wanted to just share that with you. I wanted to talk about the whole concept of forced treatment and frankly what your other options are or not. So I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.